We live in a world today where ego and pride are celebrated. Social media constantly pushes people to show off what they have, to present themselves as better than others, and to chase likes, followers, and attention. Status is measured by how expensive your car is, how many vacations you take, how many people know your name, and how loud your achievements can be displayed to others. The truth is, we live in a culture that rewards arrogance and celebrates self-promotion. But Islam teaches us something completely different. Islam teaches us that real greatness is not in inflating the ego, but in humbling it, not in boasting about ourselves, but in lowering ourselves before Allah and in serving His creation. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, was the greatest man to ever walk this earth, the most honored by Allah, the leader of humanity, and yet he lived with a humility that would put us all to shame. He ate with the poor, he sat with the orphans, he walked with the needy, and he never saw himself as above anyone else. When people saw him, they did not see a man who was distant or unreachable, they saw a man who was approachable, gentle, and kind. His greatness did not come from ego or pride, but from humility and mercy. So how do we, in this world obsessed with ego and pride, learn to stay humble like the Prophet? How do we protect our hearts from arrogance, from the disease of self-importance, and from the trap of always wanting to be seen and praised? The answer lies in three main principles that the Prophet taught us by his example: remembering where we came from, recognizing that everything we have is from Allah, and using our blessings to serve others. First, staying humble begins by remembering where we came from. Every single one of us started from nothing. We were born helpless, unable to walk, unable to talk, unable to feed ourselves. We were carried, cleaned, and raised by parents who sacrificed for us. None of us came into this world with power, with wealth, or with knowledge. Everything we have today was given to us step by Allah, and one day we will all return to the ground, buried in the same soil, whether rich or poor, famous or unknown, powerful or weak. When you remind yourself of this reality, arrogance melts away. How can I boast about myself when I know I came from nothing and I will return to dust? How can I walk with pride when I know that my body, my health, and even my ability to take a single breath is not mine but a gift from Allah? Second, humility comes from recognizing that everything we have is from Allah. Our wealth, our intelligence, our skills, our opportunities, our families, our reputations. None of it belongs to us. These are trusts given by Allah to see how we will use them. If Allah wanted, He could take them away in a moment. So when people praise us, instead of letting it feed our ego, we should remember the one who gave us those qualities. If someone compliments your knowledge, remind yourself that Allah is the source of knowledge. If someone admires your wealth, remind yourself that Allah is the provider. If someone praises your good deeds, remind yourself that it was Allah who guided you and gave you the strength to do them. In this way, you redirect all praise back to Allah instead of allowing it to inflate your ego. Third, humility is shown in how we treat others. The Prophet did not just speak about humility, he lived it in the way he interacted with people. He never turned away from someone who spoke to him. He never made people feel small or unworthy. He would greet children, visit the sick, comfort the grieving, and even mend his own clothes and shoes. He showed us that true greatness is not about being served, but about serving others. In our own lives, we can follow his example by treating people with respect, regardless of their status. Whether it's a waiter at a restaurant, a cleaner, a coworker, or a stranger, our humility is reflected in how we deal with those who can give us nothing in return. Now, staying humble in a world of ego requires constant effort. One of the dangers of arrogance is that it blinds us. An arrogant person rarely sees themselves as arrogant. They justify their pride as confidence. They justify their showing off as motivation for others. But deep inside, arrogance corrupts the heart. It makes us feel we are better than others. It kills our gratitude to Allah, and it makes us forget our dependence on Him. That is why we must constantly check our hearts. Ask yourself, Do I feel jealous when someone else succeeds? Do I secretly want to be seen and praised? Do I look down on those who have less than me? These are signs that the ego is growing, and humility needs to be restored. One of the best ways to restore humility is through acts of service that lower the ego. Spend time helping those in need, volunteer to feed the poor, visit someone who is sick, give charity in secret where no one sees you. Perform acts of kindness that are not posted online, that no one will clap for, but that are only between you and Allah. These actions purify the heart because they remind you that your worth is not in how people see you, but in how Allah sees you. Another way to protect humility is to spend time remembering Allah in private. When you pray at night, when you raise your hands in dua, when you bow your head in sujud, you remind yourself that you are a servant. You are not the center of the universe. You are not in control. You are nothing without Allah. This constant remembrance softens the heart and humbles the soul. We should also be careful with how we use platforms like social media. The culture of showing off has become so normalized that we don't even realize how much it feeds our ego. Every picture, every post, every like can become a seed of pride if we are not careful. That doesn't mean we can never share good things, but it means we should always check our intention. Am I posting this to inspire others or to be admired? Am I sharing this to bring people closer to Allah or to bring them closer to me? Intentions matter, and arrogance often hides behind the mask of good deeds. The Prophet warned us that no one will enter paradise with even an atom's weight of pride in their heart. That is how dangerous arrogance is. And what is pride? It is looking down on others and rejecting the truth. Both of these are very easy to fall into if we do not guard ourselves. Pride makes us think we are better than someone because of our wealth, our education, our race, our looks, or our status. But Allah does not judge by any of these things. Allah judges by the purity of our hearts and the sincerity of our deeds. When you remember that, you stop comparing yourself to others and you start comparing yourself to who you were yesterday. The goal is not to be better than others, but to be better than you were for the sake of Allah. Staying humble is also the path to true honor. The Prophet taught us that when you humble yourself for Allah, Allah raises you. The more you lower yourself in service, the more Allah honors you in ways that no worldly praise can match. Many people today chase fame, desperate to be noticed, but the reality is that the only recognition that matters is from Allah, and Allah raises the humble while humiliating the arrogant. So, if you want to stay humble in a world obsessed with ego, remember these lessons. Remember where you came from and where you are going. Recognize that everything you have is from Allah. Serve people and never think you are above them. Constantly check your intentions and fill your private life with worship that no one else sees. Do not let the culture of showing off corrupt your sincerity. Do not let praise blind you to your weaknesses. Do not let ego steal your closeness to Allah. Humility is not weakness, it is strength. It takes strength to hold back the ego when people praise you. It takes strength to treat others with kindness when you could ignore them. It takes strength to remember Allah when the world tells you to remember only yourself. Humility is the mark of true greatness, and arrogance is the mark of true failure. When we live with humility, we live with peace. We stop competing in meaningless ways. We stop feeling jealous of others. We stop chasing empty recognition. We find contentment in Allah, and we find honor in serving Him. And in doing so, we follow in the footsteps of the Prophet, the most humble man to ever live, and the most beloved to Allah. So let us strive every day to crush the ego, to lower our pride, and to walk humbly on this earth. Because the world may celebrate arrogance, but Allah celebrates humility. The world may reward showing off, but Allah rewards sincerity. And at the end of the day, it is Allah's judgment that matters, not the world's. If we can remember that, then we can truly stay humble in a world obsessed with ego and pride. Just like the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. True humility is not about belittling yourself or walking around with no sense of worth. Rather, it is about remembering at every moment that everything you have, everything you achieve, and every gift you possess belongs to Allah alone, and it is entrusted to you for a short period of time so that you may use it in His way. Many people misunderstand humility and think it means to deny the blessings that Allah has given or to speak poorly of oneself. But in reality, true humility is to acknowledge those blessings, to recognize that they are not yours by your own power, and then to use them for good, for service, benefit, and for the sake of Allah. A humble believer is one who does not walk into a room demanding to be noticed or praised, but one who walks in with a heart that seeks to make others feel valued and honored. A humble person knows that honor belongs only to Allah, and that pride and arrogance remove a person from His mercy. When you look at those who came before us, the prophets, the companions, the righteous, you see that their greatness was not in wealth or appearance, but in their humility. They led nations, yet they lived simply. They were admired by all, yet they served with their own hands. This is the balance of humility, being confident in the gifts that Allah has given, while never seeing yourself as greater than another soul. The truly humble person does not use knowledge to boast but to teach, does not use wealth to show superiority but to give, does not use status to look down on others but to lift them up. Humility means you do not think you are less than others. You understand that you are equal in humanity, and you realize that your worth is only measured by your sincerity with Allah. Ego thrives when a person forgets the source of their blessings. Pride grows when a person convinces themselves that they alone are responsible for their success, their wealth, their influence, or their strength. But humility is the cure to this disease of the heart. It constantly reminds you that whatever you have could be taken away in a moment if Allah willed, and that you are only a custodian of those blessings. Humility teaches you to lower yourself before others, not because you are weak, but because you are strong enough to control your pride. It teaches you to say Alhamdulillah for every achievement instead of I did this by myself. It teaches you to serve your parents, your family, your community, and even strangers without expecting anything in return. When a person is humble, their heart becomes light. They no longer compare their life to the lives of others because they know everything is a test and a trust from Allah. They no longer seek validation from people because they know the only one they need to please is their Creator. Humility removes the need to always win arguments, to always be right, or to always be praised. Instead, it allows you to be silent when silence is better, to accept criticism with grace, and to apologize when you are wrong. Humility is the foundation of true peace in the heart, because it frees you from the prison of ego and pride. The Prophet taught us that humility is shown not only in worship, but in the way we treat others. Serving the poor, helping the needy, lowering your wing of mercy to children, honoring the elders, and showing kindness even to those who wrong you are all signs of a humble heart. Humility means that when you are in a position of power, you do not abuse it but use it for justice. When you are praised, you do not let it inflate your ego, but you redirect it to Allah. When you are given authority, you remember it is a trust, and when you are wronged, you remember that forgiveness is higher than revenge. Humility is not weakness. In fact, it is the highest form of strength. It takes strength to resist arrogance. It takes strength to give credit to others when you could have kept it for yourself. It takes strength to admit your mistakes, to say, I was wrong, to ask for forgiveness, and to forgive others. The weak are the ones who hide behind pride and ego, while the strong are those who can lower themselves for the sake of Allah. The humble heart is never empty. It is filled with gratitude, with peace, and with the love of Allah. True humility also teaches you perspective. You might be successful today, but tomorrow you may face hardship. You may be wealthy now, but wealth can disappear. You may be strong today, but age will weaken you. You may be in authority now, but that position will eventually pass to someone else. Nothing in this world lasts forever, and humility prepares you for that reality. It allows you to live in a way that, no matter how high you rise in this dunya, your heart remains grounded. The humble person also understands that every human being has dignity. whether rich or poor, strong or weak, educated or uneducated. Humility means treating the janitor with the same respect as the CEO, treating the orphan with the same kindness as your own child, treating a stranger with the same warmth as your closest friend. It means lowering your pride so that you can lift others with your character. It means looking at people not through the lens of status or wealth, but through the lens of humanity and faith. The fruits of humility are many. It brings respect from others without you ever asking for it. It opens doors of opportunity because people trust and love those who are humble. It brings inner tranquility because you no longer carry the heavy burden of ego. And most importantly, humility brings you closer to Allah because it is the opposite of the arrogance that caused Satan to fall. Humility is not optional for a believer. It is essential. Without it, your deeds are poisoned with pride, but with it, even the smallest act of kindness becomes heavy in reward. So when you think of humility, do not imagine yourself as small or insignificant. Instead, imagine yourself as a servant of Allah who has been gifted with blessings and who now has the responsibility to use them for good. Imagine yourself as a traveler in this dunya, walking gently, knowing that the journey is short and that your true destination is with Allah. Imagine yourself as a mirror of the Prophet's character, who was honored by Allah above creation, yet lived with simplicity, mercy, and service. This is true humility, not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less, and thinking of Allah and His creation more. In a world that glorifies ego, where people are constantly told to show off, to chase likes, to demand attention, to make their name louder and their image bigger, it becomes harder and harder to remember that real honor does not come from people, it comes from Allah alone. We live in a culture where pride is celebrated, where arrogance is treated as confidence, and where those who walk with humility are often looked down upon as weak. But in reality, the truth is the opposite. The weak are those who cannot control their pride, who constantly need to prove themselves, who are prisoners of their own ego. The strong are those who can lower themselves before Allah, who can walk gently on this earth, and who live with a heart at peace regardless of who notices them or who praises them. True honor belongs to the one who recognizes that nothing in this world lasts. Fame fades, wealth disappears, power shifts, and the applause of people is temporary. The one who lowers themselves before Allah, however, has honor that is eternal. When you bow your head in humility, you rise in the sight of Allah. When you walk gently on the earth, Allah raises your rank in ways that no human praise could ever match. This is the way of the Prophet, who had every reason to be treated like a king, yet chose to live simply, to serve others with his own hands, and to show mercy to the weakest members of society. His honor was not in palaces, riches, or armies, but in his closeness to Allah and in the humility with which he carried himself. Walking gently on this earth does not mean walking without strength. It means walking without arrogance. It means knowing that your footsteps are temporary, that your life is short, and that you are only a traveler passing through. It means using your strength to protect, not to oppress. It means using your voice to speak for justice, not to silence others. It means living with a dignity that is not tied to the opinions of people, but to the pleasure of Allah. Real honor is not when the world claps for you, it is when Allah accepts you. Real honor is not when people chant your name, it is when the angels mention you in the heavens. Lowering yourself before Allah is the key to freedom from the chains of ego. Ego tells you that you must always be the center, that you must always win, that you must always prove your worth. But when you submit yourself to Allah, you no longer need to chase these illusions. You know that your worth is already written by the one who created you. You know that your honor is not in the size of your wealth, your fame, or your followers, but in your sincerity, in your patience, in your worship, and in the way you treat others. Ego makes you restless, always chasing more, but humility makes you content, always grateful for what is already in your hands. In this world, people confuse arrogance with power. They assume that the louder someone speaks, the stronger they are. They assume that the one who shows off wealth is more successful. They assume that the one who demands attention has more value. But the reality is that arrogance is a sign of emptiness, while humility is a sign of true strength. The prophet, despite being the most honored man in creation, walked with such humility that he sat with the poor, ate with the hungry, cared for the orphan, and never turned away anyone who came to him. That was real honor. It was not about being served, it was about serving. It was not about being above people, it was about being with people. Honor in Islam is not measured by what is on your head, but by what is in your heart. You may wear the most expensive clothes, sit in the most luxurious houses, and ride the finest cars, but if arrogance fills your heart, you are empty. On the other hand, you may live simply, dress simply, and own little, but if humility fills your heart, you are greater than kings in the sight of Allah. This is the reality that the world tries to hide, because the world glorifies what is temporary, but Allah values what is eternal. To lower yourself before Allah also means to accept that you are in constant need of Him. It means to never think that your achievements are purely your own, but to always recognize the hand of Allah in your success. It means to cry in prayer when no one is watching, to seek forgiveness when you slip, to thank Him for every breath, and to never think that you are beyond His mercy or beyond His need. This kind of humility purifies the heart, softens the soul, and makes you a person whose presence is a source of comfort, not intimidation. Walking gently like the prophet means controlling your tongue from harshness, controlling your hands from harm, and controlling your heart from hatred. It means being approachable, kind, merciful, and just. It means lowering your gaze, lowering your pride, and lowering your voice. It means remembering that every soul you meet is a creation of Allah, and to harm them out of arrogance is to go against the very humility that Islam teaches. When you think about honor in this world, remember how fragile it is. The same people who praise you today may insult you tomorrow. The same crowd that cheers for you now may abandon you later. But when your honor is tied to Allah, it never breaks. When you walk humbly for His sake, you are honored in the heavens even if the earth ignores you. When you lower yourself before Him, He elevates you in ways you could never imagine. So in a world obsessed with ego and pride, choose to be different. Choose to walk like the prophet, with gentleness, with humility, with sincerity. Choose to lower yourself before Allah in private and in public. Choose to serve instead of demanding service, to forgive instead of seeking revenge, to thank instead of boast, to guide instead of mislead. Real honor does not need to be announced. It shines through in your actions, in your character, and in the way Allah blesses your life. In the end, the only honor that matters is the one that lasts beyond this world. The titles, the wealth, the recognition, all of it stays behind when you enter the grave. What remains is your humility, your sincerity, and your closeness to Allah. And so, honor belongs not to those who inflate themselves with ego, but to those who lower themselves before Allah, walk gently on this earth, and live with the noble character of the Prophet. That is the real crown, the real victory, the real success.